Welcome to the Macquarie University Postgraduate Accounting Studies webinar. My name is Katrina Lavamakoko and I'm the Program Director for Postgraduate Accounting at Macquarie University. Okay, accounting at Macquarie, a little bit of an introduction about Macquarie and the accounting department itself. The Faculty of Business and Economics at Macquarie University is the largest faculty in Macquarie University, and the Department of Accounting is the largest department in the Faculty of Business and Economics. Macquarie is ranked among the top 100 universities worldwide in accounting and finance. Okay, so postgraduate accounting degrees that we offer. I firstly want to highlight that they're quite streamlined, and I hope as I explain it to you, simple. The Master of Accounting is the first program that I want to talk about, and that Master of Accounting program has 3 different specializations. The first specialization I'm going to talk about is professional practice. We also have the CPA Program specialization and the international practice specialization. And I will say a little bit more about all 3 later on. Note the international practice specialization incorporates the ACCA professional qualification in accounting, and the CPA program specialization includes the CPA program professional level qualification. We also have in each of those 3 specializations the option of taking the Master of Accounting Advanced, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So we've got the Master of Accounting, 3 specializations. We've got the Master of Accounting Advanced with 3 specializations, and the other program that we have here at Macquarie that's very popular is the Master of Advanced Professional Accounting. Now, the postgraduate accounting programs that we offer, they focus on research, but we also focus on working with industry to determine the content and the nature of our programs. Many of them are accredited with professional accounting bodies, and we make every effort to make sure that our teaching is responsive to the needs of those accreditation bodies as well as business. In that respect, we argue that we really have an innovative approach to teaching accounting at a postgraduate level. Having said that, we really look at employability and what do employers demand today in the workforce. We also have an RPL, or recognition of prior learning scheme, where we can recognise prior studies that any applicant may have undertaken before commencing postgraduate accounting at Macquarie. So a little bit more about the Master of Accounting first. The Master of Accounting is 2 years in duration, but I'll talk about RPL and its implication. But prima facie, it's 2 years in duration. What you do in the Master of Accounting is 10 core units. So no matter what your specialization is that you choose, you will do 10 core units irrespective of that specialization. And that builds up your core knowledge in areas of accounting, business, law, finance, economics. Then you move on to your specialization and you choose one of the 3 specializations, each including 6 core units within that specialization. Depending which one will determine the 6 core units that you do. Okay, so who would be appropriate to commence a Master of Accounting? Well, the requirements to commence and enroll in a Master of Accounting firstly looks at your undergraduate bachelor. And for the Master of Accounting, as long as you have a bachelor in any discipline, then you meet that requirement. You must, though, in that bachelor degree have a minimum GPA of 4.5 out of 7. Also, in terms of English requirements, the IELTS minimum score is a 6.5 overall, with a minimum of 6 in each of the bands or equivalent. There are opportunities for RPL to be maximised. So depending what your bachelor degree is and what discipline it's in, you will be able to be assessed in terms of RPL exemptions into the Master of Accounting. Using a bachelor degree, it's the 600 level units that you'll get RPL for, and there are 4 600 level units. So if you have a bachelor degree, your maximum RPL will be 4 600 level units, which equates with 1 semester at Macquarie University. Typically what we find for students coming into the Master of Accounting, that they will typically get exemptions for finance, economics, depending on what the undergraduate bachelor degree is. Also, I want to point out that the Master of Accounting CPA Program Specialization is available at North Ryde and our new city campus. The other specializations at the moment will be done at North Ryde, but certainly if you're picking the CPA program, there is the option at the new city location, which is located right in the CBD of Sydney. Okay, so Master of Accounting program, I mentioned the entry criteria and who is appropriate based on the entry criteria, but also what is it appropriate for? Well, the Master of Accounting is appropriate for students who wish to complete a degree that meets all the requirements for accreditation with the professional accounting bodies. Specifically in Australia, the key ones are CANS, which stands for Chartered Accountants Australia, New Zealand. Also CPA Australia, as well as ACCA, which is an international accounting professional body. Okay, the other option is that some of the specializations allow you to go on and do your professional levels as well whilst at Macquarie University. So the CPA program and the ACCA program professional levels can be completed whilst at Macquarie University doing postgraduate studies. Okay, I mentioned right at the beginning that there's the Master of Accounting and then we have the Master of Accounting Advanced. The difference between the two is that the Master of Accounting Advanced adds another 6 months to the degree. It's an additional session at Macquarie University, and it includes an internship option, which I know students are often quite keen on doing, an internship in Sydney, typically, certainly within Australia, and management accounting leadership type units. So it allows you to diversify your skill base, give you some leadership and management skills. So that's certainly potentially popular for students that are looking for those kinds of things. It does have an extra 6 months that's added to the Master of Accounting. So the total program would be 2.5 years in duration. However, if you are eligible for RPL or exemptions based on your bachelor degree, that can actually reduce the Master of Accounting Advanced down to 2 years using your RPL. So that's something to think about if you want to obtain those additional skills and experience while you're studying here at Macquarie. Okay, so that's the Master of Accounting and the Master of Accounting Advanced. We also have the Master of Advanced Professional Accounting. And that is really popular with students that want to complete their CPA qualification and possible CIMA exemptions whilst completing their studies at Macquarie University. The big difference between this program and the Master of Accounting is that the requirement for a bachelor degree to enter this program, it must be a bachelor in accounting. So you must have done an accounting major in your undergraduate studies. And so it's really building on those undergraduate studies in accounting. Whilst building on those undergraduate studies, you do advanced units in accounting, you do your CPA professional level exams, and you do advanced topics in additional areas like finance, like financial reporting, like management accounting and management units potentially if you choose those electives. So this program requires, again, a GPA in your bachelor degree of 4.5, a minimum out of 7, and also the IELTS requirement's the same. So overall 6.5, but a minimum of 6 in each band. It is 1.5 years in duration. So it is shorter than the Master of Accounting, but remember, if you're coming into this program, you already have a Bachelor in Accounting. and you're building on that knowledge plus getting your professional qualification with CPA. In light of that, there's limited options for RPL, because if you've done a Bachelor in Accounting, yes, you've got that core knowledge, those foundation levels. The Advanced Professional Accounting program is offering units at an advanced level. It assumes you've done all those foundation studies. The other program that Macquarie does have is the Master of Commerce. Now, the Master of Commerce has a number of specializations, and the two that I'm going to talk about that are managed by the Department of Accounting and Corporate Governance here at Macquarie. Firstly is accounting. So you do a Master of Commerce, you specialize in accounting, but it is a specialization that's appropriate for those applicants that want a more generalist accounting qualification. They don't particularly want an accredited degree. It does allow you to do a diverse range of topics as part of the Master of Commerce. So that's the kind of profile of applicant would be interested in doing the Master of Commerce with a specialization in accounting. It's not accredited. It's providing a broad range of business knowledge or commerce knowledge, but specializing in accounting. The other specialization that we have in the Master of Commerce, and it's been quite popular, is the Specialization in Financial Crime and Governance or Corporate Governance. So that specialization provides theoretical and practical studies in financial crime, as well as advanced issues in corporate governance, which has been quite popular and also very topical today. You know, every second day we're hearing about financial crime, cybersecurity. We're hearing about governance issues, boards, directors' duties. So that kind of specialization is really focusing in those areas. For the Master of Commerce, it's a 2-year duration. However, there is the possibility for RPL if you do have relevant studies in your bachelor degree. Okay, so what do you learn about in your studies at Postgraduate Accounting at Macquarie? I've touched on a few of these things already, but you can see for this matrix, although the title accounting is in those programs, you learn more than just about your typical accounting. You learn about a lot of other areas such as sustainability reporting, a really growing area that accountants work in today. Obviously audit, integrated reporting. You do law units like taxation law and corporate law. But we do have topics in data analytics and financial analysis. We have information systems units as well, and business advisory. So you can see that matrix does list a broad range of topic areas that you will cover in your studies. Remember that at least 16 units you'll be doing in the Master of Accounting. So those 16 units cover a multiple of disciplines and topic areas. And because we work with business, we're constantly looking at what are the areas that students need to address. Also, that matrix there highlights that these are the areas that the professional accounting bodies in Australia believe are the core knowledge areas that students need to have when they complete their professional qualification. The other thing is I've talked quite a bit about knowledge areas. But the other thing that it's important that I highlight is that accountants today are very much in demand for the skills they have. And there's a real demand for generic type skills. Skills in the area of communication, problem solving, teamwork, the ability to work in a team, to think ethically and sustainably, and also to have the IT skills as well across the range. So we've embedded those skills in the postgraduate accounting programs. We listen to business, and those things are as important as having the knowledge and the technical skills. It's having those generic skills that are embedded in the program while you're learning the knowledge, you actually develop the skills. So we have got a matrix of skills that are developed across the 2 years typically that you're here at Macquarie studying postgraduate accounting. Okay, so that's really, really important. I can't emphasize that you need to be working on those kind of skills whilst you're studying accounting at a postgraduate level. Assessment models, because students always ask about that. So we have tried to be innovative in our assessment models. Yes, we have exams, but we have a whole lot of activities that develop those generic skills whilst demonstrating your learning in the knowledge areas. So the kind of things you do at Macquarie in Postgraduate Accounting, you'll do some critical thinking activities in class, so you won't just sit there and listen, you'll actually be doing and engaging. You'll participate and present, and those participations and presentations will sometimes be individually and sometimes be in a team. And yes, you'll do tests and exams that are invigilated, and sometimes non-invigilated. So there are some types of assessments. Obviously, technology and software are embedded across those activities, and we look at developing your skills in different applications and areas. In the classroom, there'll be business projects that you work on and also work on outside the classroom. Simulations. You'll work with business, and that's an area we're focused on increasing, where businesses come into the classroom and work with students on projects. Case studies, shadowing, reports, and importantly, reflection. One of the things that we need to develop in our students is the ability to reflect and look at how they've performed or what they've learned, and understand themselves a little bit more from that exercise, and also look at how they're going to move forward and develop in the future. So there's quite a lot of reflective activity embedded in the class and assessments. Okay, some results that I wanted to show you, and these results and the reports were prepared by CPA Australia on how our students perform in the CPA professional exam. So once they've covered all the foundation knowledge in accounting, they go on and do the professional exams as part of the CPA Program Specialization or part of the Master of Advanced Professional Accounting. And you can see from the data there that Macquarie students do perform way above the Australian average. Certainly the fail rate is much lower. Students really succeed in the variety of professional level exams. So you've got the comparison there globally, Australia-wide, and at Macquarie. And Macquarie is outperforming all those other standards. The other thing now in that overhead, I've shown you the breakup of how they do in the different professional level exams, and you can see that the difference is quite marked. And it's not just about the pass rate. The bottom diagrammatic representation shows you they're not just passing at a higher rate, but they're also performing in the upper bands as a result of their studies at Macquarie and then going on to complete the external CPA exams. Because remember, these exams are run externally by CPA Australia, and this report is provided to us that reflects the results of our students. So I did want to show you that information. Having said that, certainly those same students with the same skill set are completing the professional practice specialization or the international practice specialization. So I imagine if we had the data, there would be similar results for those types of specializations. Okay, so something I didn't emphasize when I first started was there will be an opportunity for questions for students. And you were going to have to wait until the end of my presentation. I didn't remind you, but we're coming up to that time now where we've got a Q&A where you'll be able to post your questions online, and there'll be an opportunity for me to answer, or alternatively, the team here will be able to answer you in a response, in a written response. So we'll now hand over to the Q&A time and the facilitators for the Q&A time. I'm delighted to answer any of the questions that you might have. Okay, I'm just trying to see all of the questions. Okay. So there is a question from Eloise that it asks, I can't see the full question, but I've studied a while and I'm a little bit nervous of being able to cope with the Master of Accounting. Look, a lot of students are in that position where they haven't studied for a while. What I can say is it is tough and there's a lot of work that you need to do, but you're in a very supportive environment and each of the subjects have a consultation time where you can seek individual consultation, and so that will be available to you. A lot of students are in the same boat as you in terms of not having studied for a while. Not everybody goes straight into a master's qualification. So it's important that you understand there's a lot of support there for you. We've had a lot of students in the past come through the program and been really successful. I think one of the key things to success, though, whether you've studied recently or a long time ago, is do you engage with the material? And I think our focus on engagement, relevancy, and it being interesting means that I think that part of the difficulties of getting back into it are addressed. So, Eloise, I hope that answers your question. The other part to it I can now see is that you can do one unit. If you're part-time, yes, you can do one unit at a time or 2 units if you like, and you can get a feel for what amount of work's involved. If you're an international student, though, you do have to be a full-time student, which requires you to do 4 units a semester. Okay, and yes, academic support, we're awesome at that. You know, I'm being honest, we're really, really put it as one of our key metrics that we provide the support to students, whether it be with an academic or support services. Okay, the next question I have is from Majid, and he's had, do you have a PhD degree in accounting? We do offer PhD degrees in accounting, and so that is available through the Master of Research. Okay, one of the ways in which you might get into the Master of Research is looking at completing some postgraduate studies such as the Master of Commerce first and get a feel for how you cope with the research type units. But a Master of Research would be the relevant program for you to do if you're particularly interested in doing a PhD in accounting. Okay, I have another question here from Anraduya. What is the most employable option, CPA or ACCA? That's a good question. I mean, it depends where you plan to work in the future. I'd have to say that in Australia, the larger body and the more readily accepted body is CPA Australia, and so the CPA program. If your plan is to work overseas, internationally, particularly there's a lot of regions where ACCA is the dominant professional body. Or if you plan to really be a global worker, I think ACCA, it is a truly international professional qualification in accounting. The exam that you sit in Australia is exactly the same exam that you sit whether you're in Malaysia, China, Africa, the UK. So what they're examining you on and the knowledge areas they expect you to have in ACCA is truly international. So the CPA program, yes, it has transferable skills. There's many CPA Australia qualified people that work around the world. And if you look at their website, you'll see that data. But I think it's really a choice about what are your plans for the future. If you particularly want to work in a jurisdiction where ACCA is very big, then I'd be recommending ACCA. If you're more likely to want to work in Australia and you're not sure where you want to head, perhaps the CPA program would be more appropriate. Okay, another question, Eloise is back. So you don't have a background in accounting, but you're looking at a career change. Look, that is typically students that we have that are doing, there we go, that are doing the Master of Accounting. So, you know, you're one of many previous students that are in that situation, so it's perfect for you. Many of them are looking at changing their career, so they pick up the Master of Accounting. So what's best for you? I think you don't have to be too worried about which specialization you choose. I mean, probably you might want to do the more generalist professional practice, which includes the same 10 core units no matter what your specialization is. Okay, so professional practice, what you do in that one, when you finish the 10 core units, you do 6 advanced units in accounting, finance, audit. If you chose that specialization and perhaps partway through the Master of Accounting, you decided, no, I want to do my professional levels as part of my Masters, you could always change over to one of the other specializations. As long as you did it, before you moved on to the specialization units. The 10 core units that you do, first of all, are the same, no matter which specialization you're in. So you've got those 10 core units, which is, more than a year if it was full time, but it's quite a lot of study to really make a final decision about whether you want to embed the professional levels or do you want to just do the advanced units and do your professional levels while you're out working or at a later point in time. Okay, so I have another question here. I've got to get my tapping right here so it opens up the... have to hit it harder. So I have a question. If you graduate with CPA successfully, could you continue to the doctor's degree, so the PhD? So the CPA program, no, that's most appropriate for people that want to go out and into the workforce and work in business. I must say it is an accounting qualification, but you'll find that accountants work in so many areas. Accountants you'll find as CFOs, you'll find them as people running their own businesses, entrepreneurs working for big four firms. But certainly if you want to be out in the workforce working in business, then the CPA program specialization is appropriate for you. If you want to be an academic or do further, doctoral level studies, then I wouldn't be doing the CPA program specialization. I'd look at perhaps doing professional practice and then seeing from there how I step into the Master of Research program. Okay, I have a question. Can I change my major if I feel that it's not suitable for me? Yes, I mentioned that before when I was talking to Eloise about the specializations and embedding the CPA program. Remember, those 10 core units that you do first as part of the Master of Accounting, they're the same no matter what your major. We call it specialization in postgraduate studies. No matter which specialization, you'll do 10 units first that are the same. Okay, so that gives you time to make a change. So if you decide you want to change your specialization, you can do that, but you need to do it before you start one of the specialization units. There's 6 of those and you do them at the end of your studies, not at the beginning. Okay, while I'm waiting on some more questions, I might talk a little bit about, okay, we do have another question. It is a good question, actually. It asks, are there networking opportunities whilst completing your postgraduate studies at Macquarie? One of the things I mentioned in my presentation is that we do really focus on getting employers into the classroom as much as we can. And in fact, many of the teaching staff have got work relevant experience and have relationships with the professional accounting bodies, with the big 4 firms, with business. Some of them actually work in business or have their own accounting practice. So we actually have a focus on getting those employers in or using various mechanisms to give students opportunities to network. So we'll have information nights, we'll have nights if you're going into the CPA program or ACCA program where you'll get to network with other CPA qualified practitioners or ACCA qualified practitioners. The employers are in the classroom and are at events on a regular basis. The other thing that is really important, and I emphasize students participate in this, is the events that the professional bodies run. Now, they often run information nights, career nights, usually once or twice a year and sometimes more. They tell us about them and we advise students. So recently, Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand had an event in Sydney at a place called Luna Park. It's actually a fun park, but it has a big function room and it had about 800 guests attend that night with employers across the big 4, across the finance sector, across merchant banking, a wide range of employers there talking with graduates. So those kind of events come up very often, and we tell our students about those and encourage them to attend. And there are a multitude of those events. Often what we have is competitions too that different bodies run, employer bodies run. We tell students about them, and recently E&Y had a competition for tax students to make a submission to them and compete in a debate actually in relation to their submission. So there's lots of opportunities, and we know that networking is important once you're out in business. So we want to make sure we're developing it while you study. And also it gives you opportunities to look at prospective employers and get your name and your business card in their hands. Okay, so we have another question in relation to this question asks about how is CPA accredited program beneficial for someone who wants to do CPA in the future? Okay, well, you saw the results that we got for our students who did the CPA exams, the professional level exams. You saw how they performed over and above the Australia-wide average as well as the international average. So the benefit of doing it as part of your master's is that you attend classes whilst you're doing your CPA exams. Now, CPA professional exams, if you were just doing them externally without being embedded in a master's, you get a whole lot of information and you need to self-study. Whereas if you do it as part of the CPA program specialization or the Master of Advanced Professional Accounting, you actually attend 13 weeks of classes with an expert academic who leads you through the material, forces you to engage with it, to present. You do assessments with us, as well as the CPA exam with CPA Australia. So what you'll find is it's a little bit easier in the sense that you've got a lot of support while you complete those exams. And the results show that. Okay, I have a question for someone who has been admitted to the Master of Professional Accounting. There's a question about the CPA exams, and it says, after I graduate from this program, can I get some exams exempted from CPA Australia? Well, actually, no. What we do with the CPA specialization is that you do 13 weeks of classes with us, you do assessments with us, they build up your skills and your knowledge, not just discipline specific, but generic. Then you sit the CPA exam. And to pass our unit, you have to pass our assessments, it's worth 70%, but you have to pass the CPA exam, which is worth 30% of the final result in our unit. So you must complete the CPA exam to get the CPA specialization qualification. It's embedded, it's fully embedded in the Master of Accounting CPA program. So there's no exemption from the exam. Certainly you get exemption from foundation level, but not the professional levels. You must do the professional levels exam in that specialization as well as our units that correspond with those subjects. I have a question now about the ACCA specialization. So if that's selected, are there any more tests to sit outside the uni after the master's degree? Okay, so the ACCA qualification professional level is part of international practice specialization, and I mentioned that earlier. So we run that a little bit differently because of the nature of that professional level exam and qualification. So you do the units at Macquarie University as part of international practice. The specialization units correspond with the papers offered by ACCA, but you can do the ACCA exams at the same time, or you can do it at a later date. We haven't embedded those results. Now, what students tend to do, the majority do the exam with ACCA at the same time because they've been studying all the content in class with ACCA qualified academics. So they're passing on all their knowledge and expertise. They're also developing your critical thinking, problem solving skills, which you really need to get through those exam papers. But I do note that you don't necessarily have to do the ACCA exams at the same time. It is recommended, and to date, students have done it at the same time. Okay, this question asked me to elaborate on the professional practice specialisation and if it has any accreditation, please. Okay, all of the Master of Accounting programs, whether it be professional practice, CPA or international, the 10 core units meet the foundation requirements for all of the professional bodies. Okay, so if you're doing the Master of Accounting professional practice, when you do those 10 core units that all specializations do, you meet the accreditation requirements for all of those bodies at the foundation level. It means you can start the professional papers. Okay, unless you've done those core units, you can't start doing the professional exams with each of those bodies. Many students who do a Bachelor in Accounting, they then go on, they meet the foundation level, they go on and do professional level. Here, when you do the Master of Accounting core 10 units, you meet the foundation level to go on to the professional level. Many people do professional level while they're working. In this case, you can do it while you're studying. But for professional practice, you aren't necessarily going to be doing your CPA exams at the same time. We don't embed them in the studies. The units you do are a bit more diversified. So you go on to the 6 units in the specialization. Those 6 units are advanced units. They assume the foundation knowledge, but they're not particularly tied to any professional qualification. They'll probably help you quite a lot, but it's not tied to the professional exams. You could do those professional exams at a later date. Okay, the benefits of doing such specialisation. In fact, professional practice is our biggest specialisation. The advantage is that you have developed all the foundation knowledge, you're accredited to start your professional papers with the professional bodies, and you can do those professional papers when you actually perhaps have a job and you know what your employer wants you to do, or you know which country you're going to be located in. Because one of the things about the professional levels is that different countries have different preferences and different employers have different preferences. So sometimes students want to get that foundation level, want to get the advanced knowledge and get a job. And they want to then go out and once they've got their job, determine what's the most appropriate professional qualification for them. It may be the employer wants them to do the CIMA qualification, which is the management accounting qualification. They may want you to do the finance qualification or tax. It does give you that more generalist kind of knowledge and experience. And once you're employed, then make the decision. Okay. Note that whilst doing either CPA or ACCA qualification on their own doesn't constitute full-time study. So many students do those professional qualifications embedded in a master because they need to be a full-time student. That is, they're an international student. So depending on your status, international versus domestic, depend on your work situation and where you'd like to work and what kind of job you like to do, will determine whether you just take up the professional practice option, which means, yes, it's the same duration. Yes, you do 6 advanced units, but it's not tied to any particular qualification. You could go on and do CPA professional or ACCA or the chartered program at a later date. Okay, I have a question about class sizes. Okay, the class sizes, we have a maximum of 50 students in a class. Sometimes it can be less because, we're distributing students across a number of classes. All of the core units have a day and an evening offering. So that if it suits you to come at evening, you could come in the evening. Some of the units in the specializations have a more flexible offering, so they may be offered in a external mode or a particular online mode. We don't have a lot of online units, but it may have a multi-delivery where there's some online and some attendance at classes. So yeah, maximum of 50, but sometimes it can be less depending on the unit offerings and how it's spread across the week. I have a question about how many subjects does a student need to pass in order to become a CPA after doing the Master of Accounting. Okay, CPA program, they have 4 core units and 2 electives. And to complete the CPA program, you have to pass all 6. So Macquarie, you've got to pass the 4 core units that equate with the CPA core units. They include financial reporting, management accounting, ethics and governance, as well as course global strategy and leadership. They're the 4 CPA core units. Then you do 2 electives, and at Macquarie we offer audit and assurance, taxation law, and financial risk management. So you have to do 2 of those 3. So there's 6 in total. Remember that I said the specializations are a total of 6 units. Hence the 6 units in the CPA program. There's no electives. It's all pretty dictated. The only elective is which CPA choice you make, the 2 out of the 3 that are available. Okay, so yeah, that's the requirements. You've got to pass those components to get CPA accreditation at the professional level and become a full member. I have a question about timing. So when would students need to register with CPA Australia if they enrol for the Master of Accounting CPA program? Well, remember, you do 10 core units before you start the CPA professional levels. So you certainly don't have to rush in and register with CPA Australia when you first start the Master of Accounting. You've got 10 subjects that you need to complete before you're going to start your CPA exams. Okay? Typically after the first year or 2 semesters if you're full-time. Obviously it would be different if you're part-time. But we do a lot of announcements and information sessions telling you about enrolment. In fact, CPA Australia come out and run an information session, talk about how do you enroll with CPA Australia, what are the costs associated with that. So we certainly give students lots of information. Similarly, if you are doing international practice, we get ACC out to talk to those students about what are the formal requirements to register with them. The only thing both bodies do offer students that are enrolled in the Master of Accounting, they can join CPA Australia as an associate member whilst they're going through their foundation or core units. And that gives you the chance to, you don't have to pay anything, gives you the chance to access a lot of their resources that they offer, also to keep informed about events they're running, internships that they offer and that kind of thing. Similarly with ACCA, if you're enrolled in that specialisation, we do bring you within a group that attends information sessions, and ACCA will provide resources and those kind of things to you. Okay, it asked a question about do big companies only want people that have a CA or CANS Chartered Accounting qualification? No, not in Australia. I think certainly it used to be the case if you want to work for a big 4 firm like EY, Pricewaterhouse, Deloitte, and I've left one off there. I mentioned PwC. But if you wanted to work for one of those big 4 firms, they typically require the CA qualification. So in that case, you would have done the Master of Accounting Professional Practice, gone on and worked for those firms, and then done your CA qualification. But today, you'll find that even the big 4 firms have many CPA qualified accountants. In the top listed companies in Australia, you'll find people that are CA qualified or CPA qualified or ACCA qualified. And if you want to find out a bit more about that, you can look at their websites in Australia and you'll see they'll often put data on who are members. Some of them are quite, high-profile business executives across each of the qualification. So I think that preference for CA has changed a little bit over the last 10 years. The other thing too, if you look at job advertisements for accountants, you'll see in Australia anyway, they'll usually say either CA or CPA qualified. If you're someone that has a real passion for working for a CA firm, you'd probably be better off doing the CA or the CANS program. But certainly by doing CPA wouldn't exclude you, because there are many CPAs working in those firms. Okay, I have a question about difference between the Master of Accounting Professional Practice and International Practice. Are both of these courses similar to CPA or ACCA course? Okay, I know it's complicated. So remember, whichever of the three specializations you do, the 10 core units are the same. So let's say you've got through those 10 core units. If you're doing the CPA program, you'll do 6 units that correspond with the CPA exam. If you're doing international practice, you'll do 6 core units that correspond with the ACCA exams and developing additional knowledge. If you're doing professional practice, you'll do additional 6 units that are in accounting and finance, but they're developing additional knowledge that you will use whether you go on and do the CPA, ACCA, or CA exam in the future. 10 units are exactly the same. The difference is between the units that correlate with those professional level qualification. If you're not doing an embedded professional level qualification, then you'll do advanced units in accounting and finance. Okay, well, it looks like, yes, thank you so much for all the questions. I think we've finished the webinar now, and I really appreciate those interesting questions that you posted. Now, there's a survey that we'd really be delighted if you could complete for us. Those questions are up there now on the webinar. So thanks for your participation, and all the best in decisions.